Do you want to? Yeah, I was going to say start recording. What I'm going to go over today is our buyer script that we really utilize every single buyer conversation you have, and then at the end, I'm going to go over an expired script that I just started using, and I don't have it written down, even though I can. It's pretty simple, but it's been very, very effective. And so I'm going to just go over that with you briefly as well. But the buyer script's going to be the primary one we're going to go over. What I want you guys to start thinking of are some objections that you have been, running into, or maybe you're not sure how to overcome them. You got stumped on it or whatever. So just start thinking of those. I'm going to go over the script like with you guys, and then we'll start talking, like diving into some objections and really, focusing on that to see how we could overcome those to get more business. So um first things first, I truly believe that if you are scripted, you know what to ask, you know how to ask it, you know how to overcome those objections, you will get more business and you will end up being successful in our business. That just comes with repetition. And so like Amanda had said, whenever I first got into real estate, I was at a top producing team at another brokerage. I was a buyer's agent, and I was on the phones pretty much all day, every day, because I didn't have a lot of business. So I was making 20 contacts a day, 20 phone conversations. That's what the contact is. So new business, new conversations every single day. So 100 a week. And I did that for over a year, I think, a year and a half. So you get to a point where you're not nervous. You don't care if they say no. You don't care about objections, and you start being able to really overcome those better, if that makes sense. So I think it's just super important to have those scripts in place so you know what to ask and how to ask them. So I'm going to share my screen so you guys can see our buyer script. And then what I like to do here, I'm going to actually go over each point here, why we would get this information, maybe some examples. And then, like I said, we're going to talk about objections after I go over this. But think about questions you guys have. And I'm even okay if you have a question about that specific, the point that I'm going to go over. Just let me know, and we can talk about it. So, first and foremost, and I think it's so funny how it's one of the more difficult things to do, but it's at the very beginning. How do you get into a script? Most people, you look at a script and they answer the phone, and then you go right into location or something like that, and it doesn't flow well. And so how you can make it work for you every single time is you just simply ask them a question, and the question's pretty simple always. So typically speaking, here with buyers, they've reached out through a website, through HAR, through KV Core, maybe whatever, you got it from whatever website. Typically you have some type of information, you have something. And so whenever you call them, you introduce yourself. Hey there, it's Michael Bass here, Cityside Properties Group. How are you doing? They'll respond just like any lead. Maybe they're nice. Hey, good. How's it going? Maybe they're like, hey, why are you calling me? Hey, who is this? And so what you'll do is you immediately take it over, and you say, well, hey, you reached out about through my website about, the property listed there at 123 Main Street. Just wanted to check and see what all questions you had about it. Or let's say they didn't reach out about a property and they were interested in a zip code or a city or something like that. Hey, you reached out through my website regarding, real estate here in the Houston area. Just wanted to see what all questions you had about it. And I always like to say that with buyers, because it's totally different than sellers, it's almost like you're a customer service representative at first, at the very beginning of the conversation. You want to be as least aggressive and direct as possible, because the more direct you are up front, the more likely you're going to get hung up on. And so that's where it's like, hey, you reached out through a website. What all questions do you have about that? And they'll usually tell you, if it's a property, hey, had a question to see, the survey line. We couldn't see that. I was curious to see what's it backing up to. What are the schools? What are this? What are that? And when they answer that, or when they ask that question, you always say, hey, that's a great question. Let me get that pulled up. You might already have the property pulled up, but you say it anyway. Let me get that pulled up. And then as you're pulling it up, you immediately say, well, hey, I noticed that's located there in the Pearland area. Is that the specific area you're looking to purchase within? And that is an easy transition to get into our number one point, which is location. So you go from asking them a question, they ask you the question, of course, write it down, remember it, and then it's an easy transition to say, hey, let me pull that up. Oh, hey, I noticed it's located here, and then you move forward with it. Even if they say, oh, I just want to see it, because that's an easy one for them to say too. Yeah, I just wanted to see that. Can we see that today? You say, oh, that's a great question. Let me pull up my calendar. Hey, while I pull up my calendar, I noticed that's in the Pearland area. Is that the specific area you're looking to purchase within? And again, it just is a seamless way to get you in the location. Now, why do we ask the location? It seems pretty easy here, but you want to get any and all areas that they're going to be purchasing or thinking about purchasing within. The reason this is so important is because buyers just don't know a lot of stuff. So they might think that, shoot, they're looking in Pearland, but they're also looking in Katy. So maybe they think they need to get a Pearland agent and a Katy agent, and they don't think that you can, help them with everything. So if you ask the questions, you get more information. They know that you can help them wherever they actually end up purchasing within. So location's pretty easy, but it's a good thing to ask, because if you don't, you could end up losing out to a new construction because they went to another area and purchased or whatnot. So that's location. Now, in between location and price here, that is where you're actually going to answer and respond to the question that they had. And always lead with positivity if it's not what they wanted. For instance, let's say that they were like, yeah, I couldn't see the lot size on that, right? And so you pulled up and you say, well, I see that the lot size is around 7,500 square foot. Is that kind of what you guys were looking at? And they immediately say, no, that's way too small. You have to overcome that immediately. And what I always do is pause. Hey, no worries at all. Like, we have tons of properties in that area that's going to have larger lot sizes than that. I'll get those sent over to you. This property is listed for 400,000. Is that about the price you're looking to purchase within? And again, go on to price. So what you'll see here and what you'll hear from me is there's not pauses. There's no pauses in here, because if you pause, it gives them the ability to easily hang up, get off the phone, and not move forward with the conversation. So you, again, overcoming objections, you just have to, if they're, whatever it might be, if even the price, say like, hey, what's the price in this? You get to it and you're like, oh, yeah, it's 500,000. And they're like, oh man, that's way too expensive. We're looking at 350. You immediately say, oh, no worries. We have properties that are 350. That's not an issue at all. And then you move forward. So price here, of course, we're just trying to confirm their price range. This is not mortgage. I'm going to scroll down here. Mortgage is number 5. The reason mortgage is down here is because you have a little bit of a conversation, you build a rapport, and then the mortgage is the most difficult thing to talk about and speak about. So when you get to mortgage, you have a little bit of rapport with them, so you can actually ask them a little more difficult questions. So do not talk about mortgage here. We're just trying to get their price range. So yeah, hey, the property's listed for 450,000. Is that around the price you're looking to stay within? Yes, it is. Okay, great. How did you guys come up with that price range? Well, we use the online mortgage calculators. Oh, okay, that's great. 2 years ago we got pre-approved, and that's the price we were looking within. And we've had some advancements in our job, and so we just, that we're comfortable with that. Okay, great. And so again, you just get that, and that way you can actually reference it when you get to the mortgage, and it just gives them the subconscious thought that you're listening. And you'll see that here in a minute. That's it with price. So first two, very easy. Motivation is going to be VIP. It's a very, very important step here, and you'll see why. So what's causing the move? Why are they moving to Pearland, Katy? What's doing? Is it work related? Is it school related for the kids? What's it going on? And most of them are pretty common. Most of them is going to be either school or it's going to be work related. The vast majority. Some people are renting currently, some people own currently, and you'll see we ask all of that in here. So whenever you say, hey, what's taking you to the area, and they say schools, what I immediately say is, oh, that's awesome. How many kids do you have? Oh, we have 3 kids. Oh, that's amazing. What are their ages? And they'll tell you their ages, right? They're 4, 7, and 9. I'd say, oh, I bet they're involved in sports and activities. So like, what are they getting into nowadays, right? I'm trying to build rapport with them. You can always build rapport usually through kids, but through other things as well, through a conversation that you'll be able to mesh with them a little bit about. If it's job related, right? They're moving, wherever they got relocated. Oh, what do you do for work? Like, you're being relocated. What do you do? They'll tell you. Maybe you mesh on that, but you will mesh in this phone conversation about something. And the more that you're able to mesh with them, the more that likelihood that they're not going to ghost you. Like whenever you call back again and text back again, they'll actually respond to you. It's all based off this first initial conversation. The first initial conversation doesn't go that great. Typically, those are the people that actually don't respond to you. So, on that motivation, after you get why they're moving, you move on to if they currently own or rent their house. They currently own or rent the property they're in. So they're moving to the Pearland area because of schools. They have 3 kids. Oh, that's amazing. Can't wait to get you and your family down to Pearland. Where are you guys currently living? Oh, we live, we live kind of in Pearland right now as well. We're just wanting to say, oh, okay, do y'all own that house or y'all renting? Oh, we're in an apartment. We're renting right now. Oh, that's, no problem at all. You guys ready to start, investing into your future kind of, right? Saving that money. Yeah, we are. And these are conversations like what I'm telling you guys, exactly how I say stuff on the phone. And that's whenever it's like, okay, well, when's your lease up? Like, when do we need to be there? Oh, our lease is up in 3 months. Okay, great. Well, it's time for us to, get on it and get started so we can find you the next house. And that's, again, it's all happening really fast here, but I got why they're moving, I got their time frame, and now I know when their lease is up that they are renting. And you always can come back to this if you're showing them properties and for whatever reason they're dragging their feet on them. You can always say, hey, I know that lease is up in April. I know we need to get after it. We need to start, making some offers on some stuff to get you guys into that the next property. So you can always come back to it. If they own, that's a great opportunity to possibly get, 2 transactions. So if they own their house, say, oh, that's awesome. Do you know if you're going to need to, sell that house prior to purchasing this next one? Or are you going to rent it out? And typically they know. Typically they'll immediately say, yeah, we're going to hold on to it. Our interest rate's phenomenal, so we're just going to rent it out. And I would say, oh, that's great. I can actually help you on that side as well. I can help you get it rented out, and I can, of course, talk to you a little bit more about that later on. If they need to sell it, right? Yeah, we need to sell it. We're going to use the funds that we make from there as the down payment. Oh, that's amazing. The beautiful thing about you getting in touch with me is that I'm actually an expert on both of these sides. I can help you guys seamlessly do it. And this is something I say, guys, you don't have to. And then I say, and also I actually have a kind of, I guess I'll call it a promotional thing, but whenever you use me for both, your listing and your buy side, I'll actually give you 1% back on your purchase. So we'll sell your house, and then on your purchase side, I give you 1% back towards your closing costs. And that way it actually lowers your closing costs by 1% just for using me. And then that's when they usually say, oh, that's amazing. And, you move forward, and it almost guarantees you the business, to be honest with you. Again, you don't have to do that if you don't want to. Completely okay, not even mentioning that. I always do. And it works out really well. But can you see why this is VIP? Why we're getting so much information? Why we can always come back to it? We need to know how soon they're needing to get to their next place. And also, what if their rental isn't up until 6 months from now, 7 months from now? We wouldn't continue with the script like normal and go show them property right now without asking them, oh, okay, well, we're a little early right now. If we found the perfect home for you, right now it's absolutely amazing. Would you be ready and willing to make an offer on it currently? Most people would say, no, we would have to get a little closer. Okay, cool. Yeah, no, that's what I figured as well. So what we're going to do, we're a little early to start looking at properties, but what I'm going to do, I'm going to put you on an email campaign so you'll actually see those perfect properties in your area and open houses that you can start going to as well. And then when we get a little bit closer, we can actually start scheduling up properties and seeing them. And what this does is you don't waste time. You don't waste time showing them when you shouldn't be showing them. Because if you don't have this conversation with them, you're going to go show them 5 properties. Then you're going to realize mid 5 properties that you're showing on a Sunday when you could be hanging out with family, that they're not in a position to make an offer currently. And then, then they're going to expect you to start showing them properties, to be honest with you. So you have this conversation up front. And it's just always good to be straight up front with them, let them know exactly how it is, and how you're giving the information is so important, because if you give it to them in a positive light, they're going to receive it positively and they will answer your call. I'm serious when I say this. I never get ghosted anymore. Never. Like, not one client ghosts me anymore, and it's because how this first initial conversation goes. It's just so positive. It's just such a positive experience and a positive phone call that whenever I call them back, they answer, or text. So then we go into the agent side of things, right? And so again, we went through 3 points before we even asked them if they had an agent. The reason behind that is because if you answer the phone, or they answer the phone, and then you say, hey, you reached out about this property. Do you have any questions about it? Yeah, this. Okay, great. Are you currently working with an agent? It just doesn't. It doesn't flow well, and it's almost kind of a turnoff. Like, you're not building any rapport or anything like that. You're just trying to like ask this question, and it can be very. Again, it's direct. Some people are direct, but it's not the best way to go about it, in my opinion. So what you do, you get all this info, and then we say, and I say we at Cityside Properties, one specific sentence for this every time. And I seriously, I do it every single time. I don't say anything different. This right here. I assume you reached out to me directly because you're not working with an agent currently. Is that correct? And based off how they answer it, you can kind of get a feeling for that, or red flag. So if they pause and they're like, no, we're not working with anyone, something's up. Something happened where they either saw some properties with someone or whatnot. So then you can ask them, well, that's amazing. How many homes have you guys actually seen the inside of so far? Oh, we've seen four homes so far. Oh, that's great. How did you get inside those homes? Were they open houses? Did you call the listing agents? Oh, we just kind of, a couple of them were open houses, and then, we drove by one and we called the sign and we did this. And then you have to switch and you have to educate regarding why they would not want to use a listing agent and they would want a buyer's agent that's representing them specifically. And so again, it's all about asking the right question and giving them the right information so that that you're confident when you go show them properties that they're only going to work with you and they're not going to cheat on you. So again, hey, I assume you reached out with me directly because you're not working with an agent correctly. Hey, or correct. Hey, no, we're not working with an agent. Oh, that's amazing. I look forward to earning your business. How many homes have you guys seen the inside of? We haven't seen any of them. You're actually the first agent we've spoken to. Oh, I'm so happy to hear that. I definitely look forward to getting you and your family over into the Pearland area. And then just move forward, right? Just move on. You don't have to harp on it. So pretty easy to do when you do it effectively. And it's really effective on seeing if they have been seeing properties with other agents or not. Let me go back here to 5. Mortgage. All right. So with the mortgage here, this is the single most difficult thing that I think most people have trouble speaking about. So what you're going to be asking them, right, is how are they going to be purchasing this property? And you always want to reference it back to the price, number 2. So if they use online calculators, or if they said that they were pre-approved 2 years ago, or whatever that might be, you reference it back because they know that you're listening. So you say, well, hey, I know you guys were using some online calculators for looking at that mortgage. Those are great tools, very smart to do. The one thing that I will say is sometimes they're actually not super accurate on the taxes, the insurances, because you might have to have additional hazard insurance, such as wind and hail or flood insurance, HOA costs, things like that. So really the very first step of the process is getting pre-approved. It gives us a few things. The very first thing it's going to give us is that purchasing power, which we're going to really want to know because, of course, everybody has the comfortable mortgage amount. So that lender is going to be able to tell us, hey, with your comfortable mortgage amount, this is the purchasing power we should stay within. Whether that's 350, 400, 400, 450, you will know, and there won't be any questions about it. You're going to know that you're going to be comfortable within that price point. And then the second thing it's going to give us is going to give us that pre-approval letter, which really most sellers actually require now in order to get us inside those homes. So anyway, when's the best time for my preferred lender to reach out and give you a call? And then they might give you objections. They might give you pushback. They might not. And most of the time, whenever you give the information and you're able to give it all that information at once, you ask them if that makes sense. Typically, they say yes. They'll say, does that make sense at the end? They'll say yes. Say, okay, great. Let me get you my preferred lender. And they've already said yes. So it's a seamless, transition. I'm going to talk about objections here in a bit. So we're not going to talk about objections on the mortgage right now, but we will here in a second. I'll give you another option. So that's if they've not pre-approved, right? I'm trying to get them pre-approved. So for me, I give them value. What's the value of me getting pre-approved? Purchase power, pre-approval. Those are my two. You can use those. You can use your own, but give them something on why they would want to get pre-approved. What if they're already pre-approved? So as experienced agents, we always want our preferred lenders to have a shot at the business. The reason why is because we have trust with those lenders. So we know that that lender is going to call us or text us or let us know if there's issues coming up, or maybe if they're not super confident about the loan, right? Hey, we're kind of worried about this, whatever. If your buyer uses somebody from wherever, right, another state, they might not tell you until like it's super late. That, hey, we're having trouble with this. This is what we're having issues with. They're not communicating well. So we want them to communicate well. Now, of course, preferred lenders, you want to make sure that they're super competitive on the rates, the cost, all of that good stuff. But I know with mine, I can call him on a Saturday or Sunday or text him. I can get loan options. I can get conversations had. I can have all of that stuff on the weekends. And so that's why you would want to get them over there. Let me tell you guys one easy way to always get them to your preferred lender if they're already pre-approved. So let's say they're pre-approved through Wells Fargo. And so they bank with Wells Fargo. They know John at Wells Fargo, and they've been with them for years, and that's who they're going to use. Okay. So whenever you get to they tell you this on the price. Yeah, we got pre-approved through John at Wells Fargo. He's our go-to guy there. Sorry. This thing. There we go. He's our go-to guy, and so yeah, we're just going to use John. And you don't up there on the price, you don't say anything. You just move forward. Now on the mortgage, you say, well, hey, let me ask you, if I could save you, $75 to $100 a month on your mortgage, would you want to hear about that? The answer is yes, 100% of the time. Well, yeah, of course. Okay, great. Well, hey, how I'm able to get that, my preferred lender has actually been known to beat the interest rates, beat the cost of really most lenders out there. It's the reason why I keep on referring them over. And really, as your agent, I want to make sure that we have a couple of lenders fighting for your business anyway, just to ensure that we have the lowest rate and get you the best possible mortgage rate that we can. So when's a good time for you to have a discussion with them to see if we can get them to fight for your business and get you a lower rate? And again, they'll do it. They'll be like, well, yeah, I mean, I want a lower rate. I want a lower mortgage payment. You get that with them, and then you move forward. So many agents that I know, especially new agents, they over talk mortgage. They just over talk it, and they just don't know exactly how to go about it. And so you can be very direct on this, and you can move forward. But when I'm telling you this works, 100% of the time, I'm able to get my clients with my preferred lender. They might not use my lender, right, 100% of the time, but they'll talk to them 100% of the time. And that's what I want, because I have trust with my preferred lender. I don't have trust with some, random John from Wells Fargo, right? Even though they might, and he might be a great guy, I want to have that option as well. So we're going to move past that. And then these last two, very easy. Home criteria number 6, we get anything and everything. And this helps us with your searching. So you don't show 15, 20, 25 homes, which all of us hate. I mean, to be honest with you. And all of us has been there. I've been there as well. Shown 25, 30 homes before somebody makes an offer. And it's so frustrating. It's so frustrating. So many days like kind of wasted, if that makes sense. So what you do, you just get anything and everything. The size, the bedrooms, the bathrooms, the 2 stories, low ceilings, deal breakers, open concept, pool, no pool, gated, fence, the backyard fenced off. Does it have to have a shop? Does it have to have a 2 or 3 car garage? I mean, as specific as you can get, because most people, like if they come in and they say, hey, we're looking in Houston for a 3-bedroom, 2-bath. Well, there's about 787 homes that match that criteria, So it's like we have to lower that and we have to condense that down. So anything and everything. And then down here on closing, This one, you just summarize everything. And so you just say, well, hey, based off the conversation I've had today, I'm going to get you in touch with my preferred lender so you guys can start that conversation and we can get you that best rate. I'm also going to send you over 3 to 5, of the best properties on the market currently that match the home criteria that you were telling me about. I know you want to see the one that you reached out about too, which is absolutely okay. Looks like we have some time this weekend. Any questions for me, before I let you go about the process or anything in general? No, you've been really thorough. Okay, great. Well, hey, what I'll do then, I know you're going to talk to my lender here at 3 o'clock. So I'll give you a call about 3:30. We can chat again, and then we'll just go from there. And then that's it. Hang up, had a great conversation, and then you move forward. And I know we just talked about this for about 25 minutes, but this conversation actually only takes about 5 minutes. So that's the beautiful thing about this script. It only takes about 5-7 minutes, maybe something like that. So yeah. Now, what I want to do, let's hop into some objections and questions that you might have over this script, because I know there are some. So let me know what objections have you guys been having?
Michael, real quick before you move on. So I love how
Yeah.
you pointed out it's like a 6 to 7 minute script, right? My issue is getting off the phone call. Any
You're
pointers
too
on
friendly. You're
how
too
to get
friendly.
off of the phone call?
Yeah. So when you get talkers, it's hard. It's hard to get off the phone. When you get, like, when I say when you get talkers, when you're the person on the other side of the phone is they're talkers. They're super friendly. They want to keep going. You just have to remember that there's a point to the phone call. There's a point to this phone call, and we have to get off to make another phone call, right? We have to continue doing business. And so once the reason I always say to have this script always up in front of you is so whenever you guys start talking about the Astros or whatever, right? You start talking about something else, and you maybe you start, 3-4 minutes goes by, you're talking to that. You remember, I have a point to this conversation. You get back on script. So then you're like, okay, I'm left off on motivation. Like, well, shoot, man, tell me why why you guys are moving to the area. And so knowing that is key. And then at the very end, just little things. You know what I do? What I do, Janet, I always say, well, yeah, that sounds great. I'll tell you what I'm going to do now, and I'll re-say that. I'll tell you what I'm going to do. I'm going to, get my lender over to you, and then, I will check back in with you at 3. It's been great talking to you. It's like, you know what I'm saying? Like, it's a friendly way of getting off the conversation, because usually if you do that, they'll be like, oh yeah, no problem at all. Great talking to you, Michael. We'll talk soon. And then you can get off the phone. That's the best way to do it. Just like a friendly way of that. Amanda does something really, really great with clients that she's talking to that she already has. She'll tell them, oh, hey, yeah, you caught me in between meetings here. I got like maybe 5 minutes. What's up?
Okay, that's a good one.
And it's great. It's great. So if you only have 5 or 10 minutes like total to talk, say, like, again, positive, right? You're not negative. Oh yeah, no worries at all. You called me in between meetings. I have about 10-minute meetings, 10 minutes here. What's going on? How can I help? And then that will give you a time, a time there to be like, okay, well, yeah, I'm on it here. We do this, and then you move forward, and then you can get off the
Thank
phone
you.
easier. You're welcome. Sophia, I love the raised hand. How's it going? You are muted if you're talking. I don't know if you are. Oh, maybe it's in chat. Let me see if it's in the chat. No, we can't hear you, Sophia. It still shows muted. And Melissa, in the meantime, I'll email you. I'll email you the script. I'll email everybody this script. So once we get off of here, I have your emails. I'm going to email you the script so you can actually have it and have it in front of you. Sophia, for some reason, I guess maybe your mic's not working. It's still showing you muted. If you want to, oh, here she's coming back in the room. All right, Sophia, you there?
Can you hear me now?
There we go. Yep, we can hear you
Oh,
now.
hello. Sorry, I'm on my phone.
No worries.
I have a question. I had an instance where I met a guy at an open house, and he kind of mentioned he had met another agent at an open house, and they got him in contact with the lender, but that lender, wasn't being very responsive and stuff like that. And I even told them, I was like, "Hey, my lender will answer, on a weekend, right?" But I kind of mentioned, and I should have, been a little bit more assertive rather than like asking him like, "Hey, would you like to get in contact with my lender?" But the thing that he was worried about was that they were going to run his credit again. Like they were going to run like a background check and stuff like that. So how would you, bypass that objection where they're like, "Oh, I don't want them to run my credit"?
Yeah. So with a lender doing a like a pre-approval, it's a soft hit on the credit. And then also on the credit bureau knows that you're going to shop, or they think that you're going to shop for lenders, just like same as with cars or whatnot. So they don't keep docking you to shop lenders. So as long as you do it within, I believe it's 30 days from the first initial one, it doesn't have any negative effect or anything on the credit to get multiple opinions for a pre-approval. And I can tell you this just from personal experience as well, even whenever they do hit your credit, like your credit score goes back to whatever it was within like 30 days anyway. Like it doesn't stay down, like it doesn't knock it down very much. But how you get them comfortable with that is you say, okay, well, yeah, you applied, or you did this 2 weeks ago. That's completely fine. The credit bureau knows that you're going to shop around for rates, so you're still within your period to just go ahead and you can shop, and it's not going to have any negative effect on your credit report, because they know that you're going to shop for the best rate.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome. All right. Anybody else? Any objections that I'll tell you what, let me go with a few that I wrote down, and then you guys, maybe you'll think of some more. Has anybody in here ran into commissions yet on the buy side? Commissions being like there's not any commissions to a buyer's agent, because I've ran into this a few times now. No? So this is a toughie. This is a tough one. I think this is one of the more difficult like objections / conversations you have to have with your client. It usually doesn't come up in the first initial conversation because, as we know, most of the time the seller or the builder is paying for the commissions. I did run into a situation where a builder wasn't paying buyer agent commission. It was I think it was $1 they had on there, and called them, and I was just like, hey, I think there was a mistake. Nope, not a mistake. They paying $1. I even mentioned, how all these other builders around him are not only offering 3%, they're doing like a percent bonus, $5,000 bonus, all this stuff. And, he just said, yeah, they just haven't caught up with the times yet. So there will be people out there, and I'm going to give you an example of a seller client that I have here in a second when I talk to you about my expired script that works. That's the same scenario as this. He's willing to pay my commission alone, but not the buyer's commission. And he won't allow me to split it like with what I'm getting with the buyer's agents. The weirdest thing, but I think this is going to come up. So you have to kind of get creative, especially for buyers that don't have a ton of money, closing costs and down payments and stuff like that. And so what we've ran into, if it makes sense, is like potentially adding that to the sales price and financing it is a possibility. It's not, and here's the thing, it feels bad because we're so used to to the sellers and builders paying for the commissions, but we still are, we're there for a reason, negotiating the price, working them through the contract, the surveys, the inspections, like holding their hand through the whole process, following up with them forever afterwards, like being a lifetime realtor. So it's worth money, and that's what we have to remember. So that's how we talk to them about it. Hey, they're not offering any commissions, unfortunately, but here's what we can do. We can, increase this the price, which again, if we're not going to run into appraisal issues is the main thing, but we'll increase their price by 3%, and then we'll just get the seller to cover it. Well, the seller would cover that that commission at that point because we're increasing the sales price by that much. So with the extra money that they're going to get, they can pay me the commission. And that way you technically don't have to, worry about paying it up front. Yes, it technically is, in the overall cost of the loan, but, or the overall cost of the price, but you don't have to worry about handing it over like as far as closing costs. So you don't have to put, 15% down plus an extra 3% with commissions. That is an option that you can do, and you have to talk to them about it. You have to think about these things because this has came up now 3 separate times since the beginning of the year for me. I know that I'm just saying, so it's out there now. There's sellers out there now that are not paying buyer's agent commission, and so just be prepared for that and prepared to have the conversation. And so you have to think creatively and you have to think outside the box. And if you've built a good enough rapport with this buyer, I've seen that they're okay with this. And if they're not okay with that, you just have to try to negotiate your commission a little bit with them, which is unfortunate, but it has to be has to be paid. Otherwise they'll go straight through the seller. Right. So, that's one thing that we're having to run into, and we're doing it. What about using the listing agent? I use this, or I mentioned this down here on the agent side of things. So the agent side of things, whenever you say, hey, assume you reached out to me directly because you're not working with an agent currently, they say, no, how many homes have you been inside of? They said, well, we've been in a few, we've called the listing agents and they've let us in. Well, we all know, most of us in here have been listing agents before. If they don't buy our house, that's technically okay with us. We'll try to get them into another house, right? We're going to try to convert that lead into a buyer lead. And that's what it's about. That's what the business is. And so what you have to do as a buyer's agent, whenever they tell you that, is you have to tell them, the difference between a listing agent and a specific buyer's agent. And so you would tell them, hey, I understand why you would do that. It seems like the easiest way to do, to go about seeing it. But that listing agent's already signed an exclusive agreement with the seller to work on their behalf and for their best interests. So when you're walking through that property, anything that you say finance-wise, like anything, they're just going to go back and tell that owner about it. They're going to tell the seller. That way they, if you decide to make an offer and you don't have a representation on your side, they're just going to use it against you. Same thing goes with comps. They can sit there and they can actually, cherry pick comps to make sure that the price looks the best to them, and they're not worried about it. They don't represent you. And so what I'm going to do as your representation is I'm going to be able to pull up those comps in front of you. I'm going to be able to show you what the property is actually valued at. I'm going to be able to, share the seller's disclosure with you as we're walking through the house. I'm going to be able to tell you any issues that we might see, because at the end of the day, I do not care what house you buy. My number one objective is to earn your business for life. So I want you to remember that. I just want to earn your business for life, and I want to do such a good job you would always think of me when it comes to real estate. And I seriously have that conversation with every single one of my clients, because I seriously don't care what property they buy. It doesn't matter to me. I do this full time. This is my business. I treat this as a business. So this is how I'm going to treat every single client. And they absolutely love that. And that's the reason I think the vast majority of my business currently is referral based, is because that's how I treat them. Let me give you an example of this too. I was walking through with a newer client. I'd shown him one time, and I was pointing out some issues I saw. And the wife said, and she chuckled, it was a kind of a joke, and she's like, you're not doing a great job of selling us this house. And I immediately said, I'm not buying this house. This is a $500,000 house. I'm looking out for you guys. I'm gonna point out these little cracks that I think that are weird and water stains. I'm gonna tell you guys anything and everything, because I just want to make sure you guys know exactly what you're getting into. And again, they really loved it, and it's another referral. Like I'm getting, I'm actually closing on this next month in March, was from that client that I helped 5 years ago. So anyway, that's an objection that you will run into as well. Did anybody else think of anything? Any other ones that you guys have been running into on the buy side of things?
Do you, I mean, I know how I do it, but I would love to hear, do you get the buyer rep agreement signed, and how do you approach it?
Thank you for saying this. I never think of this, to be honest with you, which is quite funny. And this answers your question, I think, automatically. But so there's going to be the, the school way of doing it, right? When you're going through school and how they tell you to exactly, how you should do it. And then there's going to be ways that a lot of, top agents do it that I know of. And so I typically, just to be frank with you, I typically get the buyer's rep signed when I'm writing the contract for them. The reason behind this is because I've done scripts so well or so much now, and I'm so confident in them that I don't worry about being cheated on anymore. Like that just doesn't happen. So that's one reason that I do that. But there are instances where I would get them like signed quicker. And so, for instance, like if they're throwing red flags at the agent side of things, they've seen agents with like 7 different people. And then I throw them like a unique value proposition to use me based off my, my experience, like skill based of negotiating pricing, whatever it might be. And they say that they're up for that. Absolutely. I'm going to meet with them. And then I'm going to mention that buyer's rep agreement in person when I meet them. And then I'm going to send it to them after that. So I would still meet with them first before ever sending any documentation to sign. Yeah, that's what I would do. But the vast majority of them, Janet, I get them signed at the when I write the offer.
Yeah, it's because we do so much new construction. So it's sometimes, some builders are a little bit more realtor friendly than others. So I do try to get them when I'm working, especially with clients who are specifically looking for new construction. So I was just wondering, but yeah, that's kind of how we do it too. But we do try to get them if we're going to be working new construction.
I agree. New construction, absolutely, and they're okay. Like if you've been showing them new construction, the main thing here is meet with them first. I know agents that are like brand new that they're like, oh, I need to send them the buyer's rep, and you haven't even met with them. Don't do that. They're not going to sign it. I have seen them sign it before, but not very often. They're not going to sign it. So you want to meet with them in person, even at a Starbucks or something, right? Like meet them at a cafe. Go over our home buyer's guide. Team Legacy has a plethora of materials, and the first time homebuyer's guide is phenomenal to be able to sit down, go over the home buying process with new buyers, and get them to sign the buyer's rep right there because you're showing them your value. So meet with them, and then if they are a new construction, always blame it on the broker. This works well. So just say, hey, my broker actually requires me to get this document signed here. I wanted to go over it with you guys. You don't have to sign it right now. I just wanted to go over it with you. And then I'll send a digital one, after the fact that we can get signed and everything. But yeah, it's just a requirement for my brokerage. Again, I always put it on my broker or the state of Texas, the Texas Real Estate Commission. They require it, right? It's not me that needs it. It's them. And it works pretty well like that.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Anyone else? Any objections? You guys are just killing it out there, huh? Not running into anything. So I have one more like red flag objection that could be common, and it's on the mortgage portion of it. So they say that they don't want to get approved until they find the right house, right? You will run into this 100%. You will run into this at some point in your career. So how do you overcome that objection? And my main, I guess, thought here is that you didn't provide enough value for them to get pre-approved or to feel like they need to get pre-approved. And that's the reason why they're saying that. So whenever you use my, I guess, unique value proposition for mortgage, the purchasing power and the pre-approval, typically that's all it takes. That's all it takes. They'll say, yes, they understand. And then you move forward. Let's say though, that they say, yeah, we just really didn't want to do that until we find the right house. That, oh, okay. Yeah. Tell me a little bit about that. I know you guys are looking to make a move in the next 45 days, which is really fast. Those pre-approval letters are actually good for 4 months now. So why wouldn't we want to get pre-approved right now? And I would say that and then stop talking until they give me a reason. No reason that they give me is going to make sense. So then you have to reiterate. So they're going to be like, oh, I just didn't want my credit to be pulled. Yeah, it's completely understand that. I know you don't want to get your credit pulled, but I mean, the pre-approval process is the first step of the home buying process. And we're in that step, right? You're 45 days out. We need to go ahead and get that pre-approval. That way we'll have that pre-approval letter whenever we find that house you guys love. I don't want to go find a house you love. You want to make a move on it. And then we have to wait a couple, 2-3 days to get a pre-approval letter, and then we miss out on it. So this way we already have it, and it's good for 4 months. It's going to fully cover us through the period that we're looking. So there's really no harm in doing it, because you're going to have to do it regardless. And we already have it, and then like, let's say they say it again. Yeah, we just don't feel comfortable. Why not? Like what doesn't make you feel comfortable about that? And I just ask questions. So main thing, if you hear red flags while you're talking, don't ignore them, ask questions. If you ignore them, you waste your time most of the time. You'll end up showing somebody that, has an uncle for an agent or whatever. So I'm going to ask one more time, any other questions, and then I'll move on quickly to the script for the expired.
I do have one question, if it's okay if I can ask Michael.
Absolutely.
So I've run into the issue where I've had potential clients that I'm, starting with, and, we're getting the process of looking at some homes, and I started mentioning to them about getting a pre-approval. Now, they initially say they want to look at, oh, I got some houses I want to look at. How do you go about telling them, hey, have you gotten a pre-approval yet? And why you don't want to show them a house yet? Because again, I try to explain to them that, well, we need to know how much, home you can afford, but is there any better way that you would go about it to let them know, like, hey, we got to get started with the, pre-approval first before we start looking at, houses? Because you don't want them to just, window shop.
100%. So it comes back to this script right here. If you utilize this script fully and you have a full conversation with them 1 through 7, right? They're going to understand, and they're going to know they need to get pre-approved. Like that, they know that's the very first step. They've already agreed for you to send them over a lender, and you start that process. And here's what I will say. Even if they don't get pre-approved, as long as they have a conversation with my lender, I'm okay with that, me personally, because my lender I can trust, and he'll say, hey, they seem like they know what they're doing. They don't have that much, that many debts. They make decent money. So I'm not too concerned about this file, even if he hasn't gotten a full pre-approval. As long as I get that, I'm cool with it. I'm going to show him properties. I'm confident. Again, this goes back to having a good lender. So that's what you need to make sure you do. When you're having the first initial conversation, you have to give them the value of why they need to get pre-approved in the total conversation, right? And so with the value being, again, I like to use purchasing power and pre-approval, and I like to say that the sellers, most of the time, sellers require a pre-approval letter to actually get inside the house. And I think that actually helps them, like their mindset to be like, okay, we have to get this pre-approval anyway, so we can actually start seeing properties. So work on delivering that unique value proposition on the mortgage side of things. Work on that and be very, very thorough with that over and over and over again, so you do not like pause and stutter a lot during it. Because like I said, a lot of agents can over talk mortgage, and it's almost like it does the opposite effect.
Got it. I appreciate that advice, Michael.
Yeah, no worries. And you with anybody, I'm going to email you guys as well. And if you would like to discuss this more afterwards, email me and we'll discuss this even more. So very briefly, because I think it's a phenomenal. I know it's already 10:53, but this has been working, and it's been phenomenal. I really agree with this. So if you guys do expireds, or you want to do expireds, I highly recommend using this and seeing how it works for you. So what we've been doing, instead of like a Tom Ferry expired script or all the other ones, which are great, they're proven. I'm not saying don't do them, but a lot of agents are using those. So if you call someone and you're using the same thing, they could have just spoken with an agent that did the same thing, right? So what we've been doing is we've been calling them, and whenever they answer, we just say, hey, Mr. and Mrs. Seller, you guys still accepting offers on your property? They're, at 123 Main Street. Are you still accepting offers? And what we've been gathering is like, yeah, they're still standoffish, right? Expireds are. Yeah, what do you got for me? Sure. Yeah. What are you offering? And that's when you say, well, hey, we have a few investors actually looking to move to the area. Your house looks like it's a great fit. What all updates and upgrades have you guys done since since purchasing it, or as of late, that you think would enhance the value? So I go to what upgrades, updates that they've had. And then they'll usually say, whatever, right? Oh, we'll update the kitchen, this. They'll even say you can look at the previous listing. It was, it was all on there, whatever. I don't harp too much on it. I say, okay, great. And then I know this was listed at whatever, because we know that 470, 370. If we're around that price, maybe a little bit less than that, like, would you guys consider it still? Yeah, we would. We're just wanting to get out of it, right? So what you're doing is you're providing them a potential offer right off the bat, right? And we do have investors. I want you guys to understand this. So it's not like you're calling and lying to them. We have express offers that we could shop it out to. We have that stuff. So what I say at that point, I say, hey, well, I tell you what, give me an hour. I'm going to look at this. I'm going to run some numbers. I'm going to get with my clients. I'm going to call you back. And so it's a 2-part script. That first part kind of already brought some walls down because you're trying to get them an offer right now. So they're immediately like, okay, this guy might bring me an offer. So what you do, you get off the phone, you run the numbers, you run the comps, see how well it was priced prior to it being expired. Was it overpriced? Were the photos bad? Like, what was going on with that previous listing on why it didn't sell? If it was way overpriced, right? Like, or something like that, or maybe it was distressed, like you're seeing that, fully try to get it, through express offers or whatnot, which I know takes a little bit longer. But when you call them back, say, hey, I do have somebody interested. What I need to do, and I know it's kind of different, but I need to come and I need to take some photos that they require in order for me to upload to their system. And we have, hundreds of investors that will bid on it, and we'll get you a cash offer. And then see that. So that's what the one route you would go. But the vast majority of the time, what I've been running into, they're properties that, investors aren't going to buy because they're market value properties. They're going to be, already nice. They're not distressed, whatever. So when you call them back and you say, hey, yeah, they would make offers on this property, but it would definitely be too low for the current condition. I mean, it's a beautiful home. What happened before? I mean, like, did you guys not get any showings? Did you not get any offers? And what we found is, because we've already had that first conversation, they're more willing to talk to you about what happened before on the second conversation. Rather than trying to get it all done on the first. So that second, time you call, an hour later, make sure you don't forget. That's when you say, well, hey, what happened with the previous one? I mean, it's a beautiful home. Were you guys getting showings? Like, did y'all get any offers? Yeah, we didn't get any offers. We just didn't get any showings. We don't know what happened. Like, oh man, okay. Well, I mean, this is a perfect property to list. I mean, I ran the numbers. I think we could actually, be maybe $5,000 or $10,000 under your list price, but you weren't overpriced by any means. We have been, we have a proven, repeatable listing process in the market. I'd love to show you guys. We sell, hundreds of homes each year doing this process. When's a good time for me to come by for 15 minutes just to show you? And that way I can get this thing sold for you. And it's basically a mindset shift. So you go from having the potential cash offer, which most of those don't work because they're market value properties. And then you go into, okay, let me try to sell myself and get in a 15-minute appointment. And we have been getting people that have actually been more receptive because they'll start talking to you more on that second conversation, rather than whenever you call and saying, hey, when are you planning on hiring the right agent for, to get your home sold or for the job, something like that, like a lot of realtors do. So try that out. See how it works. If you do expired listings, there's tons of objections that could happen. Again, I know I'm running short on time. The gentleman that I have that will only pay listing agent commission, I got this way. And it ended up being a 15-minute conversation, and he was throwing everything at me. So he was just over and over and over again, saying, hey, I'm not paying full commission. Nope, I'm not doing it. I can do it myself. I don't care. I'm not doing this. And then finally it came down to, look, I get your point of view. I get that as a listing agent, you should get paid. I'm okay with paying you 3%. I'm just not going to pay the buyer's agent. And I don't want you to pay any of that commission to the buyer's agent because I don't think they deserve it. That's essentially what it came down to. We got off the phone. He told me to send him an email. I did, and I'm about to list that property. And I hate it because it's like, I'm not going to be able to offer buyer's agent commission. But on the other side of it, it's a $200,000 house that should sell regardless. And it just is what it is. So, yeah, I mean, this does work. Try it this way just for a little bit and see how it works, because we've been getting some good luck with it. Any questions over that? Okay, cool. Amanda, are you there? She might not be. Let me stop this really quick. We might have some questions. Let me see. Oh, thank you, Amanda. Do you use different scripts for a lower price point versus a higher price point, or do I treat them the same? That is a great question. So at first, I would treat them differently whenever I was a newer agent. So if I would had $1 million client, I would treat them a little bit differently than I would treat a whatever $200,000 client. Now I don't at all. I treat them exactly the same. Now on the financing portions of things, though, I don't push as much. I will say that. So maybe I treat them a little bit different. But when I talk to them, I still talk to them about the mortgage. I still say, hey, you guys planning on, taking advantage of current interest rates, which that's not great right now, but are you planning on doing a loan? Are you planning on paying cash? I still have that conversation with them. I still give them that. But based off their conversation, I probably won't harp on it too much. People that usually tend to look in that price point usually have finances that are fairly good. And especially if, the conversation went well, that's probably, I would just leave it at that. And then, yeah, that's the only difference though. Everything else is exactly the same on that, Amanda. So that's a great question though. Try to take the price point out of it, point of view. And I know that's difficult to do. Like when you're talking and let's say that the max you've sold is 350 and also you get a $900,000 client, it can seem kind of overwhelming. It's not. It's the same exact conversation that you're having, with that $300,000 client. And a lot of times those more expensive clients are more well put together and know what they want more, that they're easier clients than the lower price points. So, okay, here's another one also really quick. What about cash buyers? How do you verify whether they can afford the house or not? So this would be I would get a proof of funds, and I would put this back on the seller on seeing properties. So I would tell them, go through the script, right, and say, hey, I know you're paying cash. That's awesome. Typically, we're going to have to see a proof of funds when we submit an offer anyway. But a lot of these sellers are actually requiring us to upload that now. Don't say upload. Sorry, don't do that. So you say a lot of these sellers are requiring us now to, have a proof of funds in order to actually see the house. So whenever you can, just send one over to me, and that way we can start scheduling these properties. And I want you to treat it as nonchalant as possible. So just treat it as like it's no big deal. It's part of the process. It's part of it, and don't harp on it. If you do that, they're more receptive to it. If they come back and they say, oh, well, no, I don't want to do that, I would ask questions. Why not? Like, oh, okay, well, tell me why. I mean, we're going to need that anyway to make these cash offers. So we're going to have your proof of funds, regardless. So, what's going on? Like, why not? We might not even be able to see some of these properties because of that. And see what they say. I mean, if they come back and say, yeah, I don't want to see any of the properties that require that, it's like there's red flags there all over the place. So why not? Like, why can you not show the proof of funds currently? Like, what's going on? Like, it can be an investment account, right? Like, tell them that. So that's how I would handle that. If you're feeling red flags, typically they're red flags. Typically something's going on. That's why I always say, ask more questions. Don't just go with it. If you just go with it, you end up wasting your time. Cool. Well, that's all I have, guys. Thanks so much for joining me. We are, like I said, I'm going to send you guys an email with this buyer script. Everybody reach out to me if you have any questions. Maybe even if you want to see kind of like what our first-time home buyer guide looks like, things like that. Let me know. We can get that over to you guys. But yeah, it's been fun. Let me stop this. Oh, maybe it's already stopped. Well, that's it. Yeah. So thank you, guys. We will see y'all later.
Thank you.
All right. Bye-bye.